The research I've done since 2001 has had three primary emphases. One has been on the role of new media, particularly email-type communication media, on community building. In 2001, I was teaching at the University of Southern California, and the research team I was a part of had fanned out all over Los Angeles, identifying neighborhoods that had particularly ethnic characteristics. So we had African American neighborhoods, neighborhoods populated by Mexican immigrants and Central American immigrants, Armenians, and we looked at these neighborhoods in terms of their potential for communication within the neighborhood and the various kinds of tools that people use to accomplish what we called a feeling of belonging in the neighborhood. And so for a period of years we interviewed residents of these neighborhoods and studied the patterns of communication that were made possible by various media. And what we found is that, oddly enough, in the African American neighborhood, where the internet penetration was the lowest and cable television was the least available, there was the strongest feeling of neighborhood belonging. And that was accomplished through relatively old-fashioned media, like community newspapers, church newsletters, and that sort of thing. In fact, in the neighborhood with the highest internet penetration and with the greatest amount of cable television in the Chinese neighborhood east of Los Angeles, there was the lowest sense of community belonging. And people, in fact, were using these new communication technologies to stay in touch with events in China and stay in touch with distant relatives in China. And so their focus was outside the neighborhood, where the African American neighborhood's focus and the residents' focus was more internal to the neighborhood. And so the relationship between new communication technologies and our potential to enhance our day-to-day life in our communities is somewhat paradoxical. These new technologies make it possible to extend our attention span far beyond the confines of our physical neighborhood, and that can be a plus, but it can also distract us from the ability to build a strong community locally.